This is the EMG Podcast.
And we're back, ladies and gentlemen, on another episode of the EMG Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Michael Saulpaugh. This is my partner, Mr. Mike Carleo.
Mike, how you doing? How was your weekend?
Weekend was great, man. I did not work. We did not work this weekend. And I text you on Saturday and I said, hey, is having a weekend awesome?
Yeah, it's sick. It's sick.
I'll be honest with you. I'm always in work mode. And so I never think about not having an off day. And having been off, so like we were on vacation last week and then the weekend off. I did not, I had a case of the Sunday nights last night. I was like, I don't want to go back to work.
Oh.
Yeah. First time ever for me.
Yeah, I love it.
How was your weekend?
It was eventful. I'd not worked, but every day I had something.
I not worked.
Yeah.
Your command of the English language never ceases to amaze me.
I had a party on Friday, party on Saturday, Devils game on Sunday.
I did nothing.
It was sick.
Which was great.
All right, let's get into it. We're almost here. We're almost at the finish line.
Today, you are listening because you are about 1 month out from your wedding and you're looking for those planning tips.
Things are getting real right now.
Things are getting real. So let's not forget the whole reason, the thing that brung you to the dance, if you will, which is...
Nice hit. You have a really good language thing going on there.
Thank you. Brung you. You are getting married. So the most important thing, right, 1 month out, is make sure that you've squared away all of the details for your marriage license.
Yeah, big time. Mm-hmm.
You need to make sure that you have that done about a month and a half, a month out. Little known fact, did not know this until I had to myself go and get one. You have to file your marriage or file for your marriage license in the town that you live in. Mm-hmm. So if you live in Smallville, you have to go to the Smallville town hall and apply for your marriage license. This is a 2-trip process.
Yes.
You have to go in with your significant other, sign the paperwork, pay all of the money, blah, 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 whatever. And then you're going to need to come back some short period thereafter. Yeah. 3 days, a week, 5 days.
No, the law is 5 days after you get married. The day of your marriage, you have 5 days to come back in the town that you got married in.
I'm not there yet. I'm talking about picking up.
Oh, it doesn't matter about that. You could pick it up the day before if you want.
No. I'm saying when you go to, he's drunk. He's drunk from that party over the weekend. So you have to go, you have to pick it up in the town that you live in.
Yeah, either you or your spouse, if you don't live in the same town.
You got to go together and then you got to pick it up. Then, after you get married, wherever the town is that you get married in, whether that's your venue, a church, whatever, within 5 days, to Mike's point, you have to file it in that town, right? And then about, 2 weeks, 30 days later, something like that, you will go back and actually pick up your marriage.
So it's 3. Basically, it's 3. Yeah, you have to go do it 3 times. So you're supposed to call at like the 2 month, window. Set up an appointment because they don't take walk-ins. Most towns don't take walk-ins. You come in, it takes about 10 minutes to file. You sit down, you do all the paperwork, you pay, you leave, then you come back and you pick up what's called it's not the actual certificate. You come up with the application that everybody needs to sign on the day of, and then within 5 days afterwards. So a little tip for the way that we did it, I don't know about you guys, I gave it to my sister and my brother-in-law because I got married in the town they actually live in. So they actually ended up giving it into the bursar office.
You don't have to be the one to turn it in. We got married at a church and the
church does it.
The church did it for us.
Yeah.
So
or your officiant will do it for you as well.
I just had to go back and pick it up.
Yep.
So all right. So now you are kind of honing in, bringing this baby in for a landing. Mm-hmm. You have to finalize your rehearsal dinner. And I'm gonna categorize a bunch of these things together. I'm gonna say you need to start thinking about what the wedding weekend is gonna look like. Mm-hmm. Chart it out. You have one of these things in here, like, the week of, make sure that you are getting a haircut and you're going to the beauty shop or whatever. Right. Start from a month out looking at what your schedule looks like. The week of, 2 days before. Make sure that your schedule, especially because you're going to have family in town and there's always last minute things that pop up. Make sure that you are finalizing and figuring out, all right, Thursday night's the rehearsal dinner. Friday morning is my haircut. Friday afternoon, I'm at the venue. Friday night, we're getting married or whatever it is.
Right.
But those things need to start coming into clearer focus. And if you are someone, I would suggest putting together like just like in a Google Doc, just like a run of show or like a timeline thing.
Yeah.
about a month out is where you actually want to start finalizing down to the I won't say to the minute, but to the hour, sort of where you need to be and factor in travel time and all of that stuff. And your rehearsal dinner is obviously a part of that.
Yeah, and the next thing that we'll speak about also has to do with guest count and things like that. But we are now at the 1 month, so we skipped from 6 to 1. But this is anywhere between 1 and 3 months prior. If you haven't done so already, to make your life easier on what Mike just said, you have to. I would take off like at least 2 days prior.
Oh, from work, yeah, for sure.
Take off of work to at least 1 day, ideally 2 days prior to your wedding, and then if it's on a Sunday, the day after.
Yeah, even just to have a moment to breathe.
Yeah,
right?
because you're going to be running those things that do pop up last minute. If you're working, you only have now a limited amount of time to be able to fit everything in, right? So maybe you get your hair cut a little bit, you're off, go in the morning, so when nothing's going on, right? Or in the early afternoon before things like kind of really start happening. And yeah, so we'll talk about the week of stuff later, but I think that the 3 month mark, you should really start thinking about, hey, have I taken off of work? Have I submitted for my PTO or whatever the case may be? Because it's so important. Mike and I didn't have to do that because obviously we own the business. So we just, we took off, we scheduled it. But my wife, your wife, they have to put it in, right? So it's really important to do that. And going off a guest count, this is the point where now you start finalizing your seating chart for your wedding as well. Now, it's not necessarily going to be finalized to the exact point because there will be people that will be dropping off or some additions that will happen up until a couple of days prior to your wedding. But for the venue itself, most venues require it up to 7 to 10 days prior. But this is the point where you need to start, like people haven't gotten those RSVPs and this is the time to start doing it about 1 month out so that you have some leeway. Because if you have a B list, you can start adding those people in, etc. So I think that's really, really important to start finalizing that right away about that month timeout.
The next one is finalize your wardrobe, right? And so that can mean obviously for the wedding, right? But also just other things like for your rehearsal dinner, for the weekend. Make sure you have those things. I don't think you have to pack a month out.
No.
But know what you're going to wear, what needs to get dry cleaned. I want to wear that blue suit to the rehearsal dinner. I haven't had it dry cleaned in a while. So just make sure that you're looking ahead. Again, the more prep that you can do 30 days out, the less you're going to be scrambling the week of your
and
wedding.
you're just exactly. You're not going to be rushing through. Let's see here. What else do we have?
Well, you definitely need to start squaring away all payments to your vendors. One of the things that I found to be so tedious was, and I shouldn't have waited, but I waited until, 2 days before I got married.
Okay.
Was obviously a lot of vendors will need to get their final payments in the last 30 days. But on top of that, if you're planning on doing like tipping of your vendors.
Yeah.
Itemizing and enveloping and writing everything out and going to the bank and getting the cash. I put all of that off until 2 days before. And I found that to be, that was my sort of like mad dash at the end that I wish I could have avoided.
Right.
Do that earlier.
Yeah. I mean, if you start doing it now, it makes everything super easy. I always like the check-in with all of your vendors at this point. If you haven't had a check-in yet, we at EMG do a lot of check-ins at usually from 2 months out. We start checking in with our clients more often because there are a lot of things that can change. So we want to make sure that we're on the same page with them. But definitely do yourself a favor and check in with everybody and just start confirming everything. And that will make your week of a lot easier. I think this is like the theme of this episode is like preparation, right? You're preparing for the week of, which is kind of like go time, right? One thing that I didn't hear on the last episode that I thought was super important that I personally did was jewelry, right? So like the rings. If you have a gift for your spouse, right? I got my wife earrings, like really, really nice diamond earrings from our jeweler. And we left our rings there up until about a month or 3 weeks prior to the wedding. I left it in his hands.
Yeah, I think I did the same thing.
And then I picked it up and then I put it into my safe. I just didn't want to touch it. Yeah, I didn't want to touch it yet. It made it a little bit more special too, waiting until then, right? So if you got your wedding rings and things like that, a lot of jewelers will hold them for you until about the month before. So take them, put them somewhere safe. I suggest a safe that is fireproof, right? But that's something that wasn't on the last episode that I think is super important because you can't forget those. And you don't want to be like Brian Festa, right? Where Tommy was getting married on Memorial Day. Memorial Day weekend. And Brian forgot to pick up his suit prior. and tried to get in on.
And he was in the wedding party.
And he was in the wedding party, so he had a specific suit he had to wear.
Right.
And he couldn't get to it. He called the cops. Like, it was a whole story. I always say, getting the things early, about a month out, you have your suit, at least you have it, right? You have your stuff, and then you can get it cleaned or pressed.
Worry about all the stuff.
Worry about that stuff the week of. Everything should be in there. And that is pretty much what I thought was different from now going through the process myself. I think the biggest thing was the jewelry that I didn't hear, besides like finalizing all the tips and stuff like that.
Cool.
Yeah.
And so we only have one left of these.
The week of. It's go time, baby.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So on the next episode, it will be what to do the week of your wedding. And until then, ta-ta.
See you later.
You can find us at elegantmusicgroup.com or on Instagram at elegantmusicgroup.